Hello to everyone out there. I'm Poetic Heretic, and today we'll be looking at the Star card, both the Rider-Waite and Crownly Thoth versions as usual. So as always, if you're watching when this is not live, you may fast forward until 5 minutes in, where we will begin with the main part of the material. And in the meantime, I'll make sure that everything is as it should be. Okay, how do we sound right now? Good. See how the camera angle looks. Seems to be about right. Although I keep wanting to adjust it, so yeah, I think we'll go with that. All right. That will have to do. Let's see, I guess I'll plug this thing in. My analysis of the Star card. Come join. It's still a little cold in here, but I'm sure it'll warm up very soon. It's not as insanely cold as it has been, so I'm grateful for that. Okay, we are just over 1 minute out. So this should be a fun stream. The Star card. This is actually one of those cards that I probably know the least about in the tarot deck, or at least compared to the rest of the major arcana. So it'll be fascinating to explore it and see what else I can learn about it. Hey there, Lumen. Welcome to the stream. Good to see you. Listening while you work on your energy. Very cool. It's always a good thing to do. I've done that many a time. All right. Okay, I see we are now about 5 minutes in, so let us officially begin. So again, I'm Poetic Heretic, and today we are looking at the Star card, both the Rider-Waite and the Thoth versions. So, as usual, I will be first giving my interpretation of the card, and then we'll look up other interpretations and analyze those together. I'll take your comments and questions, and we will hopefully have an interesting, explorative discussion. Now, remember, I'm coming into all of this from a highly individualistic perspective. I don't belong to any occult groups or orders or anything like that. These are all just my opinions, and I reserve the right to have my own opinion about these cards that may, in some cases, perhaps differ from the majority opinion, even amongst tarot experts on the cards. You know, this is not. That's a good way to put this. I am not a tarot reader who is Poetic Heretic. I am Poetic Heretic who is a tarot reader, but not just tarot reader, like tarot student, I guess. So anyway, apparently my town is under alert again for the weather, and it just popped up on my screen. So let's consider that. And of course, on that note, remember, I am indeed just as much a student of these subjects as anyone else. I don't know everything that there is to know. And I'm not here to tell anyone what to believe. That's not what this is about. This is ideally a discussion that we're having, an exploration of these cards and these subjects together, because there is still so much about these cards. There is so much about these cards that I don't know, and that I'm sure other people understand far better than I do. You know, at least some people out there are going to understand these a lot better than I do. So this is a discussion that we're having together. This is not my telling. This is not my sitting here telling everyone this is how it is. It's a discussion. I want to hear, hopefully, you guys' ideas as well as my own today. And so, let's see, without further ado, was there anything else I wanted to say before we got started? I don't think so. So let's just get right into it. Now, speaking of such things, from the get-go, I have to tell you guys, when it comes to the Star card, I really don't understand at this point its role in human consciousness. I could guess, but I know very little about that, so I'm not really going to talk very much about that. I'll get into the divinatory meanings. I mean, of course, I'm familiar with those. Those are easy to memorize. And then we'll just get right into other interpretations. But basically, if I had to guess, this is about all I'll say. After seeing the idea of the destruction of the ego and other sort of illusory structures built on false premises in the Tower card that we saw last week, I would suspect that the role in human consciousness that the Star card represents is the idea of a sort of recovery, and that also would make sense with its divinatory meanings. Hello there, Connor. Welcome to the stream. With it being often about spirituality and renewal, I would think that after that kind of intense destruction that we saw in the Tower of the ego and other illusory things, that this card is going to talk about the stage of the spiritual journey that has something to do with sort of renewal after that. You know, what is it that they say? Not the calm before the storm, but I guess a calm after the storm, perhaps. But beyond that, we're just going to find out together, like I said. Now, so here is the Rider-Waite version. So remember, for those just joining, I've got the Thoth version as well. We'll be looking deep into both. So as for the divinatory meanings of this card, how do I read it when I get it in a reading? Well, first of all, I'm going to think of its air energy with its Uranian rulership. And so I'm going to think a lot about the intellect and the mind. And of course, it's also ruled by the sign of Aquarius. And so I'm going to think, oh, perception, seeing things, seeing clearly. I'm also going to think about the idea of freedom, liberation, openness. Also, like I mentioned earlier, spirituality and renewal, you know, things of this nature. sense of peace as well, I would say. Maybe in some cases, even the transmutation of energy, that sort of thing. We sort of have already seen that more in earlier cards, but we'll get into it. Let me think what else. With the Uranian element, sometimes I'll think, well, okay, sudden insights or revelations. With Aquarius, of course, anything odd or unusual, anything unexpected, out of the ordinary, so that's an element. Also, the idea of detachment with the Aquarian and air energy, sort of mental detachment. So basically, that's in a nutshell what I think of this card with its divinatory meanings when I get it in a reading for myself or for others. Now, if it's reversed, I'm going to think of the lack of freedom. I'm going to think of feeling blocked, feeling heaviness, feeling the weight of perhaps crushing responsibilities, or at least something making someone not feel free. That's how I'm most often going to interpret it. Also, in some cases, the idea, again, with it being a mental card, the idea of not seeing things clearly, not perceiving things clearly. So again, that's just a summary. And here's the Thoth version, which has its own symbolism that we'll get into probably. I don't know if it will be in this stream or in part 2 of this, but we'll get into it soon enough. And so without further ado, that's my short but sweet summary of the card, and we're going to look at additional interpretations now and analyze those together. Tree in that card too, stars being the Sephiroth. Stars being the Sephiroth. Yeah, I mean, I could kind of see it. Something tells me that we'll come across that sooner or later in this stream. With all the material we always look at. Yeah, if anyone has any other comments or questions about this, let me know while I'm pulling up the first source. Usually I just have it right here. Where did it go? Please bear with me. There it is. Guess that's what happens when I put new items on this. I don't get the nice little shortcut anymore, but whatever. The show must go on. So first, we're going to look at, as usual, the Biddy Tarot ebook, which that's what I forgot to mention earlier. Throughout these streams, as always, we're going to look at both the surfacey meanings and also the deeper esoteric meanings and everything in between. And this book is kind of that everything in between, more or less. But, surfacey to maybe some deeper things. But so that's where we're starting. And here we go. The star. Description. The bright and radiant star is the best card to meditate on to increase your self-esteem. It can improve your ability to trust in yourself. The star radiates your own inner beauty. Notice the 7 smaller stars representing your chakras. This represents a need to open your chakras and cleanse your aura. The number 17 equals 8. 1 plus 7 equals 8. Notice all the stars have 8 points. 8 is strength, the quality needed to accept your faults and love yourself in spite of them. The bird in the tree in the background is the sacred ibis of thought, roosting in the tree of mind. The woman is pouring water, psychic energy, into the pool of universal consciousness. The other pitcher pours the water onto dry land in 5 rivulets, representing the five senses. Her feet are balanced between dry land and the pool. The bent leg on the ground, earth, supports her weight, while her other foot is resting on the water of the subconscious. If you guys would like a visual, reading about the symbols, here it is. Let's see. Yeah, so the bent leg on the ground, earth, supports her weight, while her other foot is resting on the water of the subconscious. Keep a balance while at the same time staying grounded. She is naked, having nothing to hide. The ground is fruitful. When the star appears, be open to new ideas and growth. Listen to the still small voice within. The sign is Aquarius, and the rune is Daeg, or Dog, or something. I'm not sure how to say it, and it's Daeg, the rune. The star is a card of harmony and balance, much like the card of temperance. However, because the star follows the card of the tower, it also represents the end of a period of change and turmoil. The star is a card of fulfillment, peace of mind, mental and emotional stability. Like temperance, the woman in the card holds two containers of water, but in this case she pours the water out to nourish the earth and continue the cycle of fertility, which is represented by the lush greenery around her. Also like temperance, she has one foot on land and the other in the water. The water represents the spiritual realm, and the land is a symbol of the material world. All right. Thank you for bringing that up, Beyaz, about, yes, the water bear / Aquarius. Yeah, here, I want to I want to make a point here. This card's Aquarian rulership. So people sometimes wonder, why is the sign of Aquarius the water bearer, an air sign? It's the water bearer, but it's an air sign. Well, the idea behind that is essentially the air's ability to hold water, right? Like the idea of humidity and stuff like that. But not just that. It's that, how do I put this? Hope I can explain this well. When it gets really cold, the relative humidity goes way up, and there's all this static electricity everywhere. And what is that Uranian energy? It's electricity. Uranus is the electric planet, and that's what rules this card and the sign of Aquarius. So there's that. Let me also mention again that Aquarius is the detached sign. It's the only sign in the zodiac that's represented by a human figure. And what are humans, in the whole grand scheme of things on this planet? And I don't know, just sort of compared to the animals and other zodiac signs, whatever. Humans are the thinking creatures. We think. And from what I've even read some of the Seth material, it could even be said that we think for the earth, we think for the animals, we think for the environment. It's up to you if you want to accept that or not, but I think it makes sense. It's like our job as a species, so to speak, our quote unquote job is to think. That's why we think in the way that we do. I mean, I know it's more complicated than that, but basically we think. That's a purpose that we have, essentially. And Aquarius is the sign of one who is detached through thinking, because just looking at things mentally automatically detaches you from them to some extent. Like you can say, I don't know, you could say, oh, this kind of flower is called such and such, but the name of the flower is not the flower itself in that instance. The name or the mental concept is not the essence. So I hope I'm not getting too esoteric on people or whatever, or too, abstract, but that's the idea. This card with its Aquarian rulership is going to have that idea of detachment, and that's why. So let's see here. Do you mean like the awareness is detached from the mind? Maybe. I mean, you could maybe interpret it that way, but what I really mean is that, the mind itself is detached from the essence of things. Like the mind sees things in concepts, but concepts are not actually real, or at least they're only real within the context of the mind. You know, just like you could say that for all intents and purposes, the future is not real, neither is the past. They're real as concepts and ideas, but they aren't actually, at least within, human life, they aren't actually existing right here, right now. Like I can't touch the future. I can't touch the past. All I can interact with is the here and now. So past and future they only exist conceptually. Yeah, hopefully we'll get more into that as we go. All right, so meanings. The star brings you the gift of pleasure in nature, of reasoned intuition, and of shining hope. It reveals a loving phase filled with calm energy and renewed understanding. It is a card of heavenly favors and a sense of being blessed. If you are currently experiencing difficulties or have been depressed or unwell, the star augurs healing. Your ability to let go of damaging memories has been strengthened by contact with your true self. Hatred, envy, bitterness, and revenge have burned themselves out and no longer shadow your life or potential for future happiness. Now you are able to forgive and forget. Friendship is an important area governed by the star. Your friends are especially, I think it's supposed to say precious, are especially precious to you now. It says previous, I think it's supposed to say precious. And you may you may find their presence in your life a source of great happiness. Sorry for the typos. Makes me wonder if this card could also perhaps, speaking of detachment, be about the spiritual practice of disidentification, which I'm not even 100% clear on right now, but it's more or less the idea of seeing things within yourself, could be your thoughts, your feelings, even your body, as an entirely separate self. And by seeing it as a separate self, you no longer will have sort of an emotional charge around it. You'll no longer feel identified with it. I guess what many people do as a spiritual practice is that they'll disidentify from their pain. And by disidentifying from it, it's like it no longer has power over you. And so you're able to see it for what it is. And so I'm wondering, based on what we just read, especially where it says contact with your true self, if that could also be an aspect of this card. And also, since in the previous card last week, the Tower, we had very strongly the idea of the destruction of the ego, destruction of illusory things like the ego. I mean, it would just follow that once that is destroyed, there's this disidentification from that, or disidentification with that, and contact with the true self. And so perhaps that is also what we're seeing in this card. Like I said, I don't know everything there is to know. We're exploring this together. Illumination. You need to be the star of your quote-unquote show and experience a time of joy, wonder, hope, and healing. Relax and reestablish your connection with your body and the illumination of spiritual realities. Dwell on the good. People have always looked to the stars as a source of inspiration and hope. There is something about their twinkling light that draws us out of ourselves and up into a higher plane. When we turn our eyes heavenward, we no longer feel the distress of earth. The star reminds me of the clear, high voice of a soprano. There is something otherworldly about it. All the harshness and density of everyday life has been refined away, leaving only the purest essence. After being exposed to the star, we feel uplifted and blessed. In readings, the star is most welcome when grief and despair have overwhelmed us. In our darkest moments, we need to know that there is hope and that there is light at the end of the tunnel. The star is the opposite of the devil who strips us of our faith in the future. Card 17 holds out the promise that we can eventually find peace of mind. That is going to be another aspect of this card that reminds me. With its Aquarian rulership, Aquarius is the sign of the future. And so this card, often enough in readings or just what it represents in life in general, we'll talk about the future and like hope for the future and all things futuristic. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Let's see, where were we? The star also reminds us to open our heart and release our fears and doubt. If you have been holding back in any way, now is the time to give generously. It is important to remember that the star is inspiring, but it is not a card of practical solutions or final answers. Truly, without hope, we can accomplish nothing, but hope is only a beginning. When you see card 17, know that you are on the right track. Your goals and your aspirations are blessed, but to realize them, you must take positive action. Use the light of the star to guide you in your efforts. I don't know. I wouldn't say this card is really a card of taking any kind of action. Again, it's a much more mental card, at least to my knowledge. I don't know. I feel like that was just kind of thrown in as like general good advice and doesn't really necessarily have anything to do with the card. I could be wrong, but you must take positive action. I don't know. I think this card is much more about thoughts and ideas than it is about taking action. But whatever. You will become aware of how successful and respected you are. You may attain a goal that brings lasting happiness, or you may win a reward. Your reputation may be enhanced. A successful person may be involved. The star represents the confidence of youth. The young girl is innocent in life, full of hope and inspiration. She is in anticipation of what will be. Want to find or regain a sense of meaning, inspiration, or purpose to your life, and hope your future will be better than your past. It's the call of destiny that motivates you or compels you to go on. Your desire is not in vain, and that which you are yearning for will ultimately find fulfillment. Courage, hope, and inspiration are in your life. Great love will be given and received. Wisdom, spiritual enlightenment, progress toward goals, and knowing what these goals are. Keywords: hope, spirituality, renewal, inspiration. Another thing I just thought of is that, so when we line this up with the various Sephirah, or line all the cards up with the Sephirah on the Tree of Life, the star card is going to land on the same Sephiroth as that of the Lover's card. And so there's an implied connection between the two of them as well. And the Lover's card does also talk about a lot of mental stuff with its Gemini and Mercury rulership. And if you really want to get into it, so that card's ruled by Mercury. This card's ruled by Uranus. Uranus is a higher octave of Mercury. They're connected in that way. So I'm not going to get deep into that as usual. I just like to point that out so people can sort of think about that on their own time, because I'm not exactly an expert on that area of things. But just know that the star and the Lover's cards are commenting on each other in various ways. So I'll leave that to you guys to check out if you would like to. Has the idea of letting go. Yeah, I think that's accurate. Yeah, I think that makes sense. It's almost like, I mean, maybe it is about the practice of disidentification in many ways, because, and I still have mixed feelings to this day on that because of some issues. Maybe we'll get into it. But when you can disidentify from something, you can often let it go. That's what so many people who, say that they've reached enlightenment have basically done. They've disidentified. And it doesn't mean that they like rejected those parts of themselves. It just means that they saw them as separate, But it is true. Like, I'll be honest with you guys, in my own study of these things, I still have yet to fully reconcile the idea of disidentification with the idea of being authentic and taking every part of yourself as an equal and valid part of yourself, because they would seem to be opposed. If you completely disidentify from something, then how are you taking it as an equal and valid part of yourself? I don't know. I sure would like to find the answer, though. Like, I am not the mind, so to speak. Yeah, that sort of idea. Yeah, disidentifying from one's mind. That's essentially it. Yeah. When people say you're not your mind, you're not your thoughts, you're not your feelings, that's the practice of disidentification, basically. I mean, we see it a lot with, like, they'll say, well, the ego will falsely identify with so many external things. And so you want to disidentify from those. But the root of that, basically speaking, is your thoughts and emotions, maybe your body to some extent. And so really, if you're going to practice disidentification, the best thing to do pretty much is to go to the roots and disidentify from your thoughts and your feelings. But you have to be careful, though, that you're not doing that in an attitude of like resistance or like, trying to disown those parts of yourself. And that's why I say, even now, I still don't fully understand how do you actually reconcile the practice of disidentification with the practice of integrity, taking every part of yourself as an equal and valid part of yourself. But maybe we'll find out today. Maybe we'll figure that out. Also, it is still freezing in here. Jeez, I wish it would warm up already. All right. Here's the next section. Reversed. When the star is reversed, the spiritual mission is distorted. Instead of hope, we might have despair or discouragement. Instead of being filled with positive possibilities, we may find ourselves dwelling on negative issues. Negative thoughts will wear away at us to the point where we may give up control of the situation. Thus, the reversed star suggests we look for issues in our life where we find ourselves discouraged or feeling overwhelmed. It's important to move past these issues. They can take on an importance far greater than they deserve and can hold us back. There is doubt and stubbornness. A loss of friendship or love is indicated. Chance of physical or mental illness. All right. That concludes the entry in this book on the star card. Yeah, it's interesting what it says about the idea of the possibility of mental illness when reversed. I think that makes a lot of sense, again, because of its association with mental energy. So that was some interesting stuff. I'm going to grab a tissue real quick, take a quick little break. If anyone has any comments or questions about this card, let me know, and I'll answer them very shortly. So next we will look at a website or two. As usual, we will slowly get deeper and deeper into the card as we go. I'm going to start with more or less surfacey meanings and interpretations, and then we'll get deeper as we go, as per usual. Okay, so I'm just going to do a simple internet search for the star card and see what we get. All right, let's go to trustedtarot.com. Okay, here it is. The star. Calm and serenity, destiny, hope, opportunity, renewal. The star's meaning. The star's presence signifies a period of respite and renewal for you. This renewal may be spiritual, physical, or both. It is a particularly positive sign if you or someone close is recovering from illness or injury. It is a light in the darkness, illuminating your future and your past. Past. Move on from the hardships of the past and begin your renewal. At the end of all struggles will be peace. Rely on your inner strength and external support systems. Present. Consider balance and restraint when finding solutions to your current problems. The right amount of help and encouragement will bring harmony and happiness to your circles. Future. The time of your renewal is approaching. You have chosen the right path to restore your mental and physical health. By being brave enough to choose the riskier roads, you will inspire those around you. Yes, no key interpretation. The star is symbolic of hope, renewal, and beauty. It suggests a period of spiritual tranquility, happiness, and positive opportunities. The overall feeling of this card is optimistic and serene. The answer suggested by its presence is yes. All right, and then it just says it's ruled by the sign of Aquarius. Key dates January 20th to February 18th. All right, that was short but sweet. Let's just keep right on going here. Next up is Keen.com. The Star Tarot card. Are you in a calm state and feeling hopeful? Have you felt that giving more of yourself and your resources would help make the world a better place? Are you inspired toward a new creative path, be it artistic, spiritual, or entrepreneurial? Have you turned a corner and feeling sad and are starting to see some hope in a long-term situation? The Star is a tarot card that will appear in your readings when the glimmer of hope is about to shine, when your generosity of spirit is making an impact, and when your peace of mind has elevated your consciousness to the benefit of those around you. Under an illuminated night sky, a nude woman is outside, kneeling on the grass at a pond. Her foot stretches forward onto the water. Holding a clay pitcher in each hand, the woman is pouring water from one out into the pond in front of her. She is simultaneously pouring water from the other onto the green landscape at her side. The water landing in the pond forms concentric ripples. The water hitting the grass forms streams in every direction. In the sky are 8 stars, each with 8 points. Central to the composition is a large golden yellow star. It is surrounded by the 7 smaller white stars on either side. Under this light, the woman concentrates on the pitcher she is pouring into the pond, while the pitcher she is pouring onto the grass is just as precisely releasing its water. The unclothed woman represents both purity and vulnerability. The pictures are symbols of potential, and this scene of the woman releasing their contents underscores how the Star card rewards those who are generous at this moment in their life. When we give, we create energy, represented here by the ripples and the streams. The gold star dominating the scene lights up the night in a magical way that the sun never could. In this starlight, vulnerable and pure, giving and genuflecting, the woman will see the world so differently that it will inspire her to create something that is different. This inspiration to create is the manifestation of hope that is the core energy released by the Star card. When we have hope, we have something to live for, somewhere to move towards, someone to love, even if it is ourselves. If there is a downside to all of this, it is that the Star card is a quintessentially impractical card. The idealism expressed in all of this card's symbols is not solid enough to assist one to feed a family or earn a living. Remember that the Star is otherworldly. The concerns of this world are not arranged in the same priority. A fantastic inspiration is something that has no basis in reality. We must work to incorporate our visions of how the world should be with the reality of the way the world is. That's an interesting statement. So we must work to incorporate our visions of how the world should be with the reality of the way the world is. I guess that makes sense. It's possible for idealism to get carried too far. But I would just say it's also easily possible for people to get so caught up in what is that they can never have a real, true vision of what could be. Also, are we lagging? It looks like we're lagging like crazy on my end, but I don't know why. The show must go on. Meaning in past, present, and future positions. Every tarot reading assigns a meaning to the place that a tarot card lands. If a card were to be dealt sooner, it might land in the past position later, and it could be in the future position. Some readers mix up the order, but the present position exists to hold the past and future positions together. Again, as always, I've got to say, that's not absolutely true. There are many tarot spreads that don't even have a past, present, and or future position. When the star is in the past position, it refers to a good idea you had that began a series of events that led to your present circumstances. If you are in a good place right now, you can thank the intuition and improvisational skills of the star. If you are feeling lost, the impractical side of this card took you to a place that did not fit in well with everyday realities. Maybe the star inspired you to pursue your dream of being an artist, but that led to an overpriced art school that did not teach you any new skills. The star may have left you broke and in debt with all of your hopes for success now expressed in complex philosophy instead of brilliant masterpieces. When the star is in the present position, you are on the precipice of making big plans. A new idea of where to take your life has dawned. You may be feeling like you want to contribute to better the planet and humanity. Your idealism about a relationship and your partner will be especially strong now. You may want friends to take notes about how they feel when looking at your situation. You would never take what they wrote seriously now, but in the near future, after the light at the end of the tunnel blinks off for a moment, you can consult what they wrote and see it in a more objective light. People close to you will give you truth that will be hard to handle in the moment, but will be valuable reference material soon enough. In the future position, the star beckons for you to keep hope alive. You will figure out a solution to any current crisis and will soon be immersed in devising your exit strategy for maximum success. This card is especially lucky in this position. Flirt with abandon around in... That doesn't make any sense. Flirt with abandon around... Oh, that makes sense now. Around an available, attractive catch. Ask for a raise. Take a chance. Card combinations. Cards in a tarot reading do not exist independent of each other. The cards joining this or any other card in a reading all influence the meaning of each other. The star is connected closely to the Chariot card as they are numbered number 7 and number 17 respectively. The rider of the Chariot wears a crown containing the same stars illustrated in the star card. If these two pair up in your reading, your idealism will find a manifestation in the world to great success. When the Ace of Pentacles is in a reading with the star, a casual inspiration could become a profitable venture. If you have any business acumen, this is one of the best card combinations in the entire tarot deck. The Lover's card combines with the tarot to make you quite blind to any faults that your partner may possess. This blind support could be what he or she needs to become the best match for you. That doesn't make any sense. This blind support could be what he or she needs to become. No, wait, I get it. This blind support could be what he or she needs to become the best match for you. Some of these sentences. When the star is in the same reading as the Hermit card, your excitement is hard to share with anyone. Artists and musicians who live in isolated areas that are not familiar with new expressions see this combination often. Another card with a similar outcome is the Magician, although the inspiration it represents puts you in the position of being in control of delivering the vision you have. You'll most definitely convince a few people. All right, that completes that article. We are making quick progress today. All right, so it looks like it's really laggy on my end. I'm just going to look at that real quick and see. I hope it's not lagging too badly. All right, let me wave my hand around. It doesn't look too good, but well, let me just see. Don't have anything running on my computer that should be slowing it down right now, I don't think. Just mark this as red so it doesn't plague me anymore. And we will continue shortly. It's okay at your end? Okay, good. Yeah, maybe it's just, I don't know, something going on here. I guess ultimately it's not that big of a deal if the video gets messed up. If it's really the audio, the information that gets out, that's the most important. Okay, so let's look at one more website. And after that, we are making fast progress today. After that, we're going to look a little bit deeper. Next up is psychicrevelation.com. Introduction. When the star appears, you are likely to find yourself feeling rather inspired, and you will be feeling rather more hopeful about the future than you have in a while. You will also feel more confident that your needs, whether these are emotional or financial needs or both, will be met. Nothing can be taken for granted, of course, but it is unlikely that your confidence is misplaced. This is also a very spiritual card, and you may find yourself, at least for a time, feeling at one with all of creation. It's not a common feeling, so make sure you savor it. General. This card is definitely a good omen. Although you are probably already inclined to think positively, this is a time to do so specifically. What are the changes that you would like to make or see in your life? Make a list. You can accomplish nearly anything that you set out to do now. Think big. Those are very general meanings, all right? Yeah, I would say, though, that is more or less probably also a part of this card, the idea of simply positive thinking, positive focus, with its mental associations and the idea of hope and renewal and stuff like that. Maybe even the idea of Uranus a little bit could tie into that. I just wouldn't necessarily, I don't know. That's not what I think of primarily when I think of this card. It's not one of the primary things I think of. Work. Work should be going very well now if you are settled and content with where you are. Those in a career they want to be in are the most likely to feel this way. But even if it's just a quote-unquote job, there can still be contentment. If you're not so happy in your current position, then this is a time when you can expect new opportunities to come flying into your life. But there is a caveat, and the caveat is that you have to be open to them. It would pay to be ready for them, so dust off your resume, read tips and tactics about making positive career changes, and when opportunity knocks, be prepared to answer. Love. This is an excellent time to meet someone new if you are in the market for a new relationship. Although it's not impossible that love may simply knock on your door, it is more likely that you will need to get out there and mingle. A new relationship could happen at any time, so don't turn down any invitations. If you're already in love and committed, then your relationship may well be ready to move to a new level, one that is not only higher but is more fulfilling. Make the most of this opportunity and build on it. Finances. Again, the star is a very powerful and positive omen, and you are likely to do better financially at this time than you might have first thought. There is certainly a chance of something extra in the air. This is also a great time to take risks, but only those you can afford. So if stocks and shares are your game, then a modest investment may well pay dividends in the future. It may also be a good time to ask for a raise at work, and if you are into selling things online or wherever, it's a good time to dust off those things you don't want or need any longer. You'll have everything that you need, more than likely, and then some. Enjoy it. Health. This should be a fabulous time, health-wise. If you are waiting on test results of some kind, they are likely to be very good results. You'll be calm and inspired. Take good care of yourself. Spirituality. You are so in touch with your spirituality now that this is a great time for you to reach out to others and to share your wisdom and your joy. Your efforts in doing so will be repaid many times over. The world needs your light and your happiness. Make a point to let it shine. All right, that concludes that website. So we'll take a brief little break and then we will continue. Let's see if I can clean up the video, at least on my end, any further in the meantime. Weird. My computer is definitely not overwhelmed, so my computer's handling this just fine. So I guess this is on YouTube's end. Oh well, done everything I can do. It's an awesome card and message from the star, but I guess needs balance with other cards / message. Let me think about that. Yeah, I mean, yeah, basically. Like you can't operate on the message of detachment from the star alone, I don't think. And I don't know. Even in talking about disidentification, if that's a big part of what this card is about, as we're kind of suspecting here. I mean, it seems like people have to go through a certain process before they're ready for that, and before they can even know what that even means. Like you can try to explain that to someone, but if they're not really ready to understand it, like a lot of times it'll just sound like nonsense to them. At least that seems to be the case. It doesn't stand alone. I don't know. I mean, I guess not. But I guess I wouldn't really think any of the cards stand alone, do they? I don't know. I don't know. But next, oh, we are making good progress today. Good time. I guess that's because my summary of this card was so short. Next, we are going to go deeper because we've been through enough surfacey meanings, and we're going to look specifically now at the Thoth version of the card, which from what we've seen so far in the Thoth deck, it tends to have its own symbols, its own unique meanings in, many cases, often is the case. And this is indeed the part of the stream where we really get to the meat of the material, or at least we begin getting there. So let me pull up esotericmeanings.com. Yeah, and as usual, my intention in this stream and in part 2 later on is basically to sort of go back and forth between the two versions of the card. And if anyone's wondering why am I looking at the Thoth version specifically so closely, well, it's only because the Thoth version the Thoth deck itself is probably the most superior tarot deck in existence. That's why. And I'd say the Rider-Waite is a close second. And what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is you can design all sorts of interpretations of the star or any other card, but there's only a very select few decks that actually incorporate very specific symbolism placed for a reason. And the Rider-Waite and Thoth decks are two of them. One idea that comes up is the idea of connection, so to speak. Yeah, it could be, perhaps. Connection with the Uranian rulership and stuff like that. I don't know. If you want to give me more on that, feel free. We'll look deeper into it. So again, this is esotericmeanings.com. Their YouTube channel is Thoth Tarot Videos, so check that out if you would like. And let us get right into it. Thoth Star Tarot card. A very beautiful card with a really positive meaning. The central figure is the goddess Nuit in form, which is different from her formless state, as we will see in the Aeon card. All right, and here, just show the card a little more closely for a bit, as the article is. And yeah, again, I'm still relatively new to the Thoth deck. I would say I know a pretty good deal about the Rider-Waite after nearly 3 years of study, but the Thoth deck I am quite new to, and so much of its symbolism I'm still figuring out right as we go along here. Her color is, oh yeah, in this card. You're getting a pack soon? Excellent. Yeah, I highly recommend it. Like, the Rider-Waite, as I've said before, is great for anyone who is like a student to advanced, but the Thoth deck is really best for like advanced students of tarot when you really want to dive into it about as deeply as possible. So, like, even, it's not like I've been studying the tarot for decades, but I've been studying it a lot for nearly 3 years. And even for me at this point, like, wrapping my mind around the Thoth deck is a bit challenging, but I'm learning more and more about it every single day. All right, so let us continue. Crowley says in the Book of the Law, "Every man and every woman is a star." That's a quote. Every man and every woman is a star. The Book of the Law has 3 essential principles. 1, Nuit/Nuith, which is what the star represents, the eternal mother as the all-encompassing unity of life, from which all possible manifestations of creation come from. She represents all that can possibly be created or will be. So the eternal mother as the all-encompassing unity of life. I'm going to move this over here so it's easier to reach when we get to the symbolism. 2, Hadit. She cannot manifest anything without Hadit, which is represented by a winged globe, and these are both represented in the Stella of Revealing image below, or I guess Steely. All right, wait, let's see here. So first it says a stele, it gives the pronunciation, I guess that's how you say it. A stele is a stone or wooden slab, generally taller than it is wide, erected in ancient Western culture as a monument. Grave steles were often used for funerary or commemorative purposes. All right, and then it shows this image right here. Hopefully it'll focus for us. Yeah, there it goes. It is lagging so bad at my end. I really hope it's not bad for those watching. Like, it shouldn't be my computer because it doesn't do this normally, and I've already checked that, but whatever. Hadit is essentially the essence of Kether, or the first Sephiroth on the Tree of Life. Okay, so Hadit being the essence of Kether, and the star representing Nuit. And Nuit and Hadit go together, to my understanding. 3, Horus. Arises out of the union of Nuit and Hadit. Horus is the aggressive/destructive, almost like the judgment of Christ. Going back to the star, Crowley is saying we are all like Nuit in that we have the potential of the universe inside us, the all potential. Crowley is saying we are all like Nuit in that we have the potential of the universe inside us, the all potential. So that must be why he said every man and every woman is a star. All right, and then for Horus, shows an image right here. There it goes, finally focusing. By the way, if this lag ends up, or whatever it is, if we do end up getting disconnected, as happens once in a blue moon, rest assured I will restart the stream. You know, we will continue one way or another. All right, Rider-Waite Tower. I think it's supposed to say Rider-Waite Star Tarot card for this article. A little error there. Just a brief thing on this in here, though. Oh, it just shows the card. Okay, never mind. Thoth Star Tarot card and the Tree of Life. This star has swapped paths on the Tree of Life with the Emperor, and so we are looking back up toward the top of the tree again at the path connecting Chokmah to Tifereth, thus crossing the abyss which separates the unmanifest, thus bridging the gap between formless, water, and form, earth. I think the real meaning of this card is starting to unravel more for me. Bridging the gap between formless, water, and form, earth. And remember what we were saying earlier about the idea of disidentification. But let's see here. So star swapped paths on Tree of Life to Tifereth. I'm going to show that in a second. Thus crossing the abyss, which separates the unmanifest supernal triangle with the to Chokmah on the Tree of Life. And while everyone looks at this, and while it takes its time to focus, I'll remind people that, again, the reason that we are even studying this stuff, or at least the reason I study it and think it's important for anyone else, especially those who have an interest in it to study, is because this stuff represents us. It represents our path through life. Not just the Tree of Life here, but the tarot and astrology, all of it. And thus, therefore, it's very beneficial in endless ways. Sorry that it's not focusing. I'm trying. You know, this isn't just some theoretical, philosophical fun we're having. This stuff has actual practical, good say practical applications, or at least has a lot to teach you about your own spiritual journey through life. And it finally focused. Thank the gods. So already I'm looking at the astrological Uranian, and yet we have the Sun and Neptune. And just from my knowledge of astrology, whenever you have the Sun connecting with Neptune, that's like focused intuition, physical realm, stuff like that. So Thoth Star Tarot card, Hebrew and astrological attribution. A. Hebrew association. It is associated with the letter He, which means window. A window's main function is to transmit light so we can see, and in the same way, the essence of the star is to let us know we flow through us. Okay. And of course, you can see that on the card, and the connection's unstable. And the connection is now maybe stable again. I'm going to have to check. Please stand by, dear viewers. Let's just unplug this. All right, are we stable? And the connection is now maybe stable again. I'm going to have to please stand by, viewers. Let's just unplug this. This looks completely unstable to me. All right, are we stable?